Guard Lieutenant Wolf. You step into my Readier Room, please, and bring a tricorder with you.
Hi, Captain. What do you make of this? I am puzzled, sir. The only detectable bioelectrical symbols are your own. You did not know.
I did not.
Hello, and welcome to the Readier Room, the only and longest-running Star Trek The Next Generation rewatch podcast. Every week of the year, we're bringing you an episode of TNG and all the behind-the-scenes magic and lore that brought it all together. My name is Mitchell Mells, Chief Consultant of Services, and with me is my life partner, Brandon Hobbs, ex-Head of Resources Management. Brandon, how are you today?
Well, Mitch, I am excited to talk about another episode of Star Trek The Next Generation today.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another week of the year, which means another couple of hours together, and with another episode of TNG.
A lot of collective hours, really.
Yeah.
We've amassed so far.
Right.
We're gonna kind of incite the ire of probably our entire audience.
Can
5 people.
Can we have enough inciting for 1 year?
we got to talk about this young adult novel stuff.
Yes, it's a pandemic, much like a real pandemic.
Yes, but worse.
Worse and more widespread in some ways.
I was thinking because we were talking, and I use the word talking loosely. We were writing messages down and trying to paper plane them into each other's corners for the past 3 hours.
Getting the 90-degree turn is
it's tough.
It's
you
tough.
Gotta catch the wind just right,
which is really hard in a sealed room.
The conversation we were able to have, which was extremely disjointed. We were talking about this young adult novel thing, and in the time that's led up to us starting the podcast here, I was thinking about how to articulate this, and I was thinking about how amazing it is that like literature is considered probably the highest form of entertainment, right, in terms of sophistication, but it's almost amazing that a young adult book can be, and often is, most likely is, like trashier than like the trashiest video game. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a complete farce.
It's got no intellectual worth.
And not even that. It's like anti-intellectual. It's like reading it almost destroys your brain cells.
I buy that. I think that it's a few things, really. One, it actively makes you stupid, but 2, the opportunity cost of not reading something else compounds the issue. Right.
Yeah, I mean, and all this stuff really does just read like bad fan fiction of itself. And I mean, I guess the lowest hanging fruit is Harry Potter, right?
Yeah, that's the most.
That's always the one people kind of come back to. There's that whole read another book.
Yeah, that's
type thing.
That's the thing. Like people, other franchises have had their time in the sun. The Hunger Games, the Twilight, Aragon, but
oh god,
nobody has any of those as their identity. Well, even like while they're reading them as teenagers or children, but especially not into adulthood.
Yeah, there's never like big Aragon heads. They're not going to conventions cosplaying as Aragon characters.
Oh, the new Aragon section of Walt Disney World just opened up.
Well, that might happen. Like I was saying the other day, I think they're making a new show out of it, which is just terrible. I'm not sure who thought that was a good idea. That guy has written, I think, one other book, besides his Aragon trash.
Was it amazing?
I don't know. I didn't read it.
You haven't read his entire bibliography?
I know. Shocking. I've been too busy reading Picard Meets the X-Men, so
That is your latest My Boom.
which is it's a sophisticated book. It's true art.
Oh, I have an announcement to make live on the Readier Room.
Okay. Sure.
This is something I feel inclined to say, but everyone must know that I'm coming out as a bibliophile.
Ooh. It's very brave of you.
Thank you. I've put a lot of thought into this. I've just published my updated Twitter bio. And I'm ready to live life grabbing the bull by its horns.
Proverbially.
And literally.
Well, as long as you have your snuggly blanket and your cup of tea, and we got to get you a cat too.
I need a bookshelf
We'll be all set.
to take pictures of and post on the internet, so I can say this is my bookshelf.
Bookshelf. Oh, there we go. It's your bookshelf.
Have you ever seen this phenomenon? People, and this exact phenomenon has been expressed in many different ways in different arena, but
yeah, sure.
The idea, like when someone posts a picture of their bookshelf, it's carefully curated to present a very specific image, and I have so I keep my James Joyce novels, a little bit of this, a little bit of Infinite Jest, and I'm a very cultured individual.
Sure, yeah. One thing that gets me, and I mean, this may or may not align with this kind of practice of taking pictures of your bookshelf and posting them, but the books as decoration thing
completely aligns. Completely.
Yeah, and it's like you go out of your way to get these old editions of what may or may not be classic books, and they're just kind of like set dressing. They used to be a thing like in Forever 20, like some Forever 21s or whatever, or like thrift stores. You would just see books on shelves.
I know you're a big
Apropos
patron of Forever 21.
It is how,
or at least
how I
their
dress
catalog.
myself. Yeah. Sometimes I'll bring a lawn chair and make a day out of it.
I respect it, but certainly, and they sell just several books that are, I guess, the covers aesthetically go together with the sole purpose of them being decoration. And
yeah, sure.
These decorative books will just have titles like Economic Discourse 1 and 2.
Yes.
Just
oh my god.
Nothing really concrete or about anything, especially of a topic that this kind of person would have a sincere interest in.
Right, especially that. But yeah, I mean, as we both know, it's just made to make you look cultured if you buy it and put it on your shelf.
Exactly.
You're a white woman. You've never read anything but Harry Potter.
Don't accuse me of anything.
The hypothetical. You're a white woman. You've never read anything but Harry Potter. You set up your little bookshelf. Throw some social discourse, economics, fucking biology books on your shelf, and take a selfie of you sipping your tea.
Now, let me ask your opinion, because there's two ways of doing this. One of them is with these kind of, oblique, impenetrable topics, biology, economics, whatever. And another way of doing this is with big names, respected names of authors and books that are people actually do read, but you haven't. You just have it there. Which one of these is more egregious to you?
Definitely the and you can always tell when someone who absolutely would never read a nonfiction book has a bunch of nonfiction on their shelf.
Okay.
Right? So definitely the former. If like the other one's not very good still. I mean, it's not good at all, but I could almost see someone who doesn't make a practice of reading fiction one day suddenly deciding, hey, I have all these books, maybe I should read them.
Okay, whereas the other one is just never getting opened.
Never. It's never going to be touched.
I buy that reasoning, but to me, I think I would go with the other option because with the nonfiction stuff, it's more or less chosen at random. It's like, oh, whatever. This sounds intellectual. Whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But with the actual novels and authors that's curated, that's hand chosen. That took a lot more effort for this person, this hypothetical guy, to go in and deliberately create the front that he wants to put up. Like, oh, I've read Walden. Oh yes. Walden, Waldont.
I mean, it's just going to be a bunch of books that you would have supposedly read in high school.
No,
but
I think that for the more pretentious, like the people that are really into impersonating somebody
pretending
who
to
reads,
read. Yeah.
that they go for not necessarily deep cuts, but more respected names in reading circles.
Well, like what?
Oh, I don't read. I don't know, but
no. But I mean, what they assign you in school tends to be the respected authors.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yes, but no. Yes, those all.
They're the ones that you're going to find in a literature section of Barnes and Noble.
Certainly, they're quote unquote the classics. But if you go into a circle of readers, everyone's read the classics. That's kind of most likely what got them into reading.
Yeah.
So
that's not true at all.
Oh well, it's if you take it into other arenas. But just imagine, it's like, I just read The Great Gatsby. I want to have a thrilling discourse on The Great Gatsby, and it's like, well, everyone did that in high school. We're beyond that now.
No. Listen,
Am I overestimating these people?
Yes, there's something not connecting here with you. The Great Gatsby is.
It's not so great.
Well, no. First of all, it's not. But no, people go apeshit over The Great Gatsby still. Like girls will make it their entire personality to liking The Great Gatsby.
Really? Do they want to bone Jay Gatz?
Is that what his name is?
I think it might be Gatz. It's either Gatz or Gatz. You know what? Maybe because I've not read the novel in 80 years, but I believe it's something where he creates the Great Gatsby identity, and his name is like Gatz, and
so he's kind of like a Batman villain.
Yeah, he assumes the mantle of the Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
I'm looking up the characters in this novel right now, and the Wikipedia section has Wikipedia article has a section for the Great Gatsby video game, which is great.
Oh my god! Why is that a thing?
I was right. My memory did not fail me. Jay Gatsby, originally James Gatz. I'm an amazing guy.
Yeah, you might be surprised how many quote unquote people would cite The Great Gatsby as their favorite novel.
Well, I think we're talking about two different groups, because there's definitely the casual reader who has the reading equivalent of peaking in high school.
Peaking at what?
Well, that's what I do in high schools these days, but but there's also the more pretentious, self-assured individual where reading is not just their identity; it's something that they do actively.
Yeah, sure, but I don't think most of those people are particularly pretentious. I think the pretentious ones will come in kind of the genre fiction spheres, like sci-fi and fantasy.
Yeah, you're right. Because if you're actually, reading challenging novels, looking for them, finding new ones, and enjoying that act, that's more sincere than pretentious. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely sincere, and it's just something you do. You kind of take it for granted. It's a matter of fact thing. It's just a normal activity.
I'm glad we're having this discussion. It's really shaping my image of this guy that we're inventing in real time.
At the end of this, we're going to know exactly who to hate and why.
Yeah, which is the real conundrum of life. But I think that in that case, it's a case of the members of the first group, the Great Gatsby crowd, trying to impress the second group by posting pictures of their bookshelves. That's
exactly what it is. Yes. And the genre fiction guys as well.
Yes.
They have to be. I'm not going to say they're the worst, but they're pretty bad, because it's like at that point. I mean, it's like any pop culture thing where, God forbid, you like a thing that's popular, and try to discuss it on any kind of the public forum that's devoted to the genre. You know. It's going to be filled with, like, you know, scoffing and like, oh, I read that 20 years ago and it's shit. Wait, you mean you haven't read the fucking I don't know, so some shit that like 12 people bought?
Yeah, you don't listen to Bulgarian yodeling?
Yeah. I mean, music's even worse.
Yeah, but it's the same attitude and phenomenon.
Yeah. Jeez, I just wanted to rag on young adult fiction. Look at where we ended up.
Well, let's go back there, because that is a well worth exploring.
I'm just gonna keep repeating myself.
That's true.
I mean, it is what it is, right?
One day, you know, we're gonna be in a white room, and the doctor's gonna be like, "Are the young adult readers in the room with us right now?"
My dream is to one day live in a town that has no young adult readers living in it.
Same, but just for young adults.
I tried to read Artemis Fowl the other day.
The only person the other day.
Well, I mean, I got my grandson's copy just sitting on the shelf. I mean, it's just been there for ages now.
Might as well read it.
Yeah, no, I thought I'd pick it up and just like try to remember what it was like, and I had to put it down within 2 pages. It's just so bad.
The only person I ever knew to be into Artemis Fowl was a bespectacled autistic individual. And I got you with that one.
So what about him?
Oh, he was just autistic, and that's my image of Artemis Fowl enjoyers. Also, I can't shake the image that this novel's about a bird.
Yeah, really dumb name. And that, you know, that's another thing. These books, these like long running series have stupid fucking names.
Right.
All of them. Harry Potter, Percy Jackson.
These are just
a series
names
of unfortunate events.
That was actually the name of my autobiography.
Just an average day for me.
Oh,
starts with waking up. But yeah, you know, I do start seeing red when I walk by the young adult fiction section and just start reading off the names.
My recommendation is to keep walking.
Well, what I usually do is I start appending with a penis to the end of every title.
Nice.
And then I start giggling about it.
Artemis Fowl with a penis. I mean, he likely does have a penis.
Likely. Hunger Games with the penis.
Right. Well, that's just Fridays.
Another one is In My Ass.
Yeah. That's a
classic.
Yeah.
I think that might be better, actually. Hunger Games in My Ass. A series of unfortunate events in my ass.
How do you feel about people who insist that reading comic books is on the same level of reading novels?
Do people insist this?
They insist.
It's definitely a huge cope, and it's a cope that I can't. They don't even believe it themselves. They can't.
I'm 100% sure these people do believe it.
I think they're like trying to make themselves believe it.
Will that thought into existence?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
This question comes up in my mind a lot when there's a ton of I don't want to go full mask off here, but there's a ton of like performative affirmation that goes on for various topics. And I'm always,
pretty much everything nowadays.
Yeah, and I'm always curious, to what extent is this all sincere? Do people believe all of this, or do they just say it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And my knee-jerk instinct is to respond with again, no, I don't think they really do believe it. It's just kind of I don't know, a learned reaction. It's definitely an internet thing. Where like 20 years ago, the first reaction you would have to someone sending you a message would be to like call them the N-word and tell them to fuck off, just because it's funny.
I always said, not much, you.
But you know what I mean. It was caustic. It was like,
right.
you would say offensive things just for the sake of it. And now, ever since the advent of the iPhone, it's very not even slowly. It's pretty rapidly gotten to the point where as lower IQ people flood into the internet, they're not able to understand that it's kind of all a joke. Right. It's not real life. It's all kind of a big bit.
Well, the thing is, the bit is over, because now your average online individual is just acting like they do all the time. They cannot.
Sure.
They absolutely cannot compartmentalize these things. And
right.
Nowadays, people who can't, who otherwise could, are not, because there's no reason to, because nobody else is. And
yeah, no one's playing along.
Right. So it's a shame. You're absolutely right. The smartphone was the death knell of any kind of usable internet.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where all this positive affirmation is coming from. It's an overbearing course correction, in scare quotes, by people who didn't understand online discourse to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's where all this is coming from.
I like the idea, how when you might be out in a social setting and there's pressure to be polite, and even if you don't necessarily want to, you just kind of like, smile and move along. I really enjoy the thought of people just in their living rooms or on their phones, just feeling that pressure when they're replying to somebody, some anonymous person online.
Right. The one place you absolutely do not need to do that. The one place you can actually be a real human being without any repercussions, except maybe getting banned from a subreddit.
I've met that fate many a time.
Many times.
It's gotten to the point where Reddit just has my IP on lockdown.
Right.
So if I use a VPN and make an account, and then several weeks later I log into that account without a VPN, banned instantly.
Yep. It's got to be like an auto thing, huh?
Yeah. Which I don't know. This is part of the changing landscape of the internet, where people are of many different services are very, very protective of who can and cannot have access to them.
Oh, sure. Well, Reddit's trying to go public, I think. So
I remember that.
I think I think there's like just scrubbing everything that they can as much as possible.
That's why you can't say groomer anymore.
Yeah, you can't say groomer anymore. Yeah,
it was a big hit to the dog grooming subreddit.
I bet it actually was. The wonderful thing about the word groomer is it's not even inherently about sexual stuff either.
Right. As
you can groom someone to be like a child soldier.
Look, We agreed not
I
to
would
talk
know.
about this.
I've done it several times.
There was something about this. To me, it's just wild that for this particular case, all of I don't want to say mental gymnastics, but the very complicated thinking that goes into turning this into a no slur, where the idea is that grooming children is bad. Okay, how can we come around on the other side of that?
How can we make it look good? Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the crazy. I mean, it's, you know, we've spent the last decade or so, listening to people like Alex Jones ramble on and on about all the crazy conspiracy theories that he thought were happening, and you have these like fringe internet groups that repeat and repeat and repeat these things, and now all of a sudden we're coming to realize that they were all true.
I think that's what gets me. It's the people that I'm intrinsically linked to for having certain thoughts and beliefs tilts the hell out of me.
Sure.
Like, I don't want to.
And I don't think no one's happy about it. I mean, no one reasonable is happy about it. No one's happy. I'm not happy that I keep watching Matt Walsh videos.
Then why do you giggle all the time when you watch them?
He's like the biggest chud of all time.
He is.
I would even steal his lunch money.
He even looks like the biggest chud of all time.
He does, yeah. So it's like, but like, goddamn.
Now, do you think that Matt Walsh is related to Joe Walsh?
Who is that?
That is the guitarist for the Eagles.
Oh, right. We talked about this. We did this bit.
Oh, we did do this bit. Oh, God, cut it.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
Edit it.
We'll
yeah, but
our
I know what you're talking about too, because it's like, one of these opportunistic, clickbait kind of guys like him. Once they start saying something, then it gives kind of the extremists on the other end the ability to just say, well, this asshole crazy guy said it, so it can't be true.
Right, and this comes in both with the top of the chain, like the figureheads, and also the average commenter.
Yeah. Where
anybody who retards who hold the same opinion as you are your greatest enemy.
100%. Yeah. Well, that's all the discussion is on anything now. It's the both sides' biggest retards flinging shit at each other and pointing out how big of a retard the other side is.
And believe you me, they're all retards.
All of them.
But
we're
not
enlightened
me.
centrists.
Yeah. I hate both sides.
I really do. And it's impossible not to, because, I mean, the conservative presence online, it's like, even if you're for example, like a 20-something-year-old conservative, you act like a boomer online.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the average person. Like you can't distinguish sarcasm from genuine arguments.
I'm actually going to push back here. I do not think that this is a uniquely conservative nor liberal opinion.
Yeah,
I think that
maybe not.
Anybody who is very involved in politics is almost willfully blind to things like sarcasm. They're so primed to see the worst in everything that they will, take jokes seriously or read things in bad faith. And
well, not only that, I mean, like they can't afford to not do that because it's the only thing they do.
Right.
So it's like they either, most of the time, they don't have a job at all, or they have a very bad one.
They have
no hobbies. Yeah, dog walk. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. So it's like that's all they have to do to fill their time.
Doug Walker.
Oh, well, we're connecting the dots here. Sometimes they make a video about the wall.
And all the women that
Furries
hit
in it. Oh.
it.
Woohoo.
I've once again managed to come around on the centrist position.
Yeah, no, I guess that's it. I guess the answer to young adult fiction is that we are centrists.
Look, it's, it takes a lot to both sides of the young adult debate, young adult novel debate.
This is a news program.
It is
so
now.
I want to bring up an interesting headline that we got this week, that Taylor Swift has emitted more CO2 than some countries this year.
I'm really struggling to keep up with this.
I'm wondering how many times she had to fart to do that.
Ew. Is this a real, not the farting part, but is this a real headline?
Yeah, something like that.
Now, is Taylor Swift just a stand-in for a concert singer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyone with the amount of money she has. Yeah, I mean, they're flying jets everywhere and stuff.
I legitimately thought she's singing all the time, so she emits a lot of CO2, and I'm like, what?
That is hilarious. That's great. That's something we could work with.
That's that is a bit of a Readier Room joke, isn't it?
Enact a no talking mandate to save the environment.
I'd sign up for that. That's
I'd like others to.
That's a Star Trek planet right there. It's like they arrive and everyone's just miming at them.
Oh my god, it is.
And this could be an episode of Voyager, and Janeway's trying to communicate, and they uncover the history of the planet, or global warming, and they admit the emissions. Oh my god! So then, and everyone's like acting rudely to them as they're speaking, and we were talking the whole time. We were hurting the planet. I didn't know. And
right,
yeah, this is
I love that.
It's more my fan fiction.
How about a planet that the entire population experiences nocturnal emissions, and so they have a culture of never sleeping?
What do they do with all the emissions?
Well, nothing, because they don't sleep. They developed a drug that
I see
allows them to not sleep, but the drug, they're running out of natural resources to make the drug.
Okay,
so that's the conflict.
Emit a lot in the nocturne.
They're gonna emit so much at night that it's gonna destroy their solar system, along with all their neighboring planets.
Oh well, the stakes have never been higher.
Right. So it's up to Picard and his
ragtag
dashing
team
crew. What they're gonna have to do is they're gonna have to jack off the entire population of the planet before they fall asleep.
I'm really into these, I don't know, I guess more speculative science fiction stories. Like, not the jacking off, but like, they have this drug where they don't have to sleep, or what was the first example? Oh yeah, they have to mime. I don't know. Just highbrow stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe one episode Picard meets the X-Men.
Real speculative fiction.
I mean, it is speculative.
What if Picard met
what
the
if
X-Men?
Picard and Rogue kissed?
Oh, you mean Rouge?
Yeah, Rouge. I feel like that's lost on so many people.
Oh, unlike the rest of our very easily digestible jokes. I think that's internet culture, because if you were online at a certain time, and you were a kid, so you're talking about video games, you had no idea how to spell any of these words, Rogue, Rouge. If you weren't online, when would you ever write these and make that mistake? That.
Yeah, sure. It definitely would. Well, because you had stuff like Rogue Squadron.
Yes. The Rogue Squadron.
And then just Rogue, I guess, was a thing, and Rouge the Bat. So, yeah, there were plenty of opportunities for people to slip up and and make that mistake, and they made it a lot. One great spelling mistake that I'd never seen outside the internet was spelling definitely as defiantly.
Oh, yes.
That's all over the place.
That's still there to this day. And I mean,
yeah,
the spelling errors that fool the spell checker are the most nefarious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because defiantly is a word like, oh, it's not underlined in red, must be fine. And it's like, well,
but it's nuts because it's just different enough that I can't believe someone would be able to make that mistake.
These people are really telling on themselves that they only read young adult fiction.
They only read Artemis Fowl. Did I ever show you that? You know they made a movie out of that, right?
Yeah.
Did I ever show you that scene where Judi Dench looks directly at the camera?
No. Is this... Does she start listing off statistics or something?
She looks like she's about to. No, she's like flying some kind of flying ship.
Maybe
above the water.
Uh-huh.
And the camera kind of like it. At first, she's flying head on into the camera, and then it kind of circles around her to the side, so you see her from like a side view in the cockpit, and she just turns and looks directly at the camera.
In service of anything, or just
no?
Oh Lord.
No, it looks like an accident. It's really funny. I'll pull it up later.
Does she quickly look away, like, oh shit?
I don't remember. Maybe.
Judi Dench sounds like a midwife's name.
Judi Dench.
Or somebody that doesn't have any shoes.
How about the people who refer to her as Dame Judi Dench every time?
I'm sorry?
Dame Judi Dench.
Is this a guy?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, people. I mean, look her up. Look her up right now.
I am. She's an old woman.
Yeah. She's
I had no
a
idea
handsome
who this
old woman. Look up. Yeah, you look up Judi Dench. Like half the sources are gonna call her Dame Judi Dench.
Is this like a
every
thing?
single time?
Like a
yes,
woman that
that's
gets
exactly
knighted?
what it is.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, there are people who do that with Patrick Stewart. And,
yeah, that's stupid too.
It is dumb. It is dumb.
Patrick would always ask us to call him sir, and I refused.
I did call him Jure, though.
Well, you were ahead of your time.
I was. Now, here's the thing. There's what do you call this? Fuck, I forget what was I about to say. Oh yes. Going back to our general disdain for anybody who's ever picked up a book.
At some point, we're just that's exactly what it's gonna be. I can't believe these assholes are reading.
I saw a guy on the internet making an impassioned defense case for Terry Pratchett novels, but every time he referred to the author, he exclusively said Sir Terry.
Terry Pratchett is a whole other beast, isn't he?
A whole nother, even.
A whole nother. A whole nother.
You're an a-hole nother. Now, Terry Pratchett, what did he write? Discworld?
Yeah.
I was really disappointed to learn that this was not a world of like geometric shapes talking to each other, like early CG animated polygons and vectors.
That's what was that book? Flatland?
Oh yes, that is what I'm thinking of. Jesus.
Yeah. Although I could, they're very similar titles.
I had learned this and then unlearned it and then applied it to something else.
Flatland also has to be the most obvious and clumsy allegory ever.
Well, on the Wikipedia page, it says it's a satirical novella, and because it's satire, that means I love it now.
I'm trying to balance in my head right now what's worse, Flatland or Animal Farm. But it's probably Animal Farm, just because of its audience.
Yes, but I've never read Flatland. What is it satirizing?
Class distinctions and stuff. I don't know. I forget. I read it a long time ago.
Really playing,
but
to,
I
to
remember
the Indian audience.
I remember being very very unimpressed by it, because it's the guy might as well have just written a nonfiction book about what he thought about society.
Yeah.
At that point,
which is also basically Animal Farm.
Yes.
Like, oh, what if people were evil?
Yeah. But they're animals.
Even animals can be evil.
They don't even do animal things. They're just they say they're animals, but they just do people things the entire time.
I have to I read Animal Farm recently, not for the first time, of course, but
for the last time.
Well, I will be dead soon, so if I live long enough to read Animal Farm again, just put me in the fucking ground. I think that there's a big audience of people that really like obvious allegory and symbolism because they never experience anything that has symbolism. So the first time that they catch something, they feel really,
or they
really
just
clever.
Don't engage with it when it does show up.
Right, because it's not so obvious.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We're entering, like again, it's guy who's only watched Boss Baby territory, and that's the kind of guy who's fascinated with Animal Farm.
Yeah, that's a really good explanation of it. Oddly enough,
and I like 1984. I think that's a good book.
I wouldn't say that Animal Farm is a bad book either, as long as you're viewing it as for something as simple as it is.
I suppose so. I mean, it's a little fairy tale almost, but it's
right.
I guess it's been hyped up a bit.
It's certainly, but with the idea in mind, all right, this is just a fable. Then whatever, sure.
Wikipedia calls it a beast fable.
I've seen some beast fables in my time, let me tell you. Yeah, when can I get the porn parody of Animal Farm?
That has to have happened already.
Oh, that happened.
Some woman getting fucked by a pig. Oh, well, that just happened.
It's fucking corkscrew penis.
It is corkscrew, isn't it?
It is. 'Tis, even.
Tis. Yeah, that's great.
Corkscrew.
Corkscrew. How about Stephen King?
Oh, God. I refer...
What an asshole.
You say masshole?
No, I said asshole.
Okay. I refer back to that Harry Potter review where the writer bemoaned that terrible young adult novels like Harry Potter were priming children to read Stephen King as they got older.
Right. Yeah, and it's true. It's true.
It's absolutely true.
And I was floored by that observation, because I would have never connected the two, but it really is just the exact same thing.
There's a disconcerting number of adults who will enthusiastically tell you about their admiration for Stephen King and his work. And it's never ceases to surprise me.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, his prose is never anything to write home about, and conceptually, I mean, you like Kubrick one-upped them, and he got all pissy about it.
I forgot that. I mean, yeah, pretty good though. The thing that gets me though is that at least the Tom Clancy guy will tell you right to your face, like, yeah, books suck. But the Stephen
Yeah. He's like one of those operator guys.
right.
He's like, I wish I had a gun so I could kill people.
It's like I don't like reading, but it's Tom he gets it.
Yeah. Totally.
But the Stephen King guy is just beyond
It's like
saving.
faux intellectualism.
Yes. Now,
When it's like,
So
you buy these books at the grocery store.
Stephen King is not young adult. But
he may as well be.
Right. But what I mean is, because he's not young adult, people, it's a different approach when buying and choosing these novels to read. So, what's worse, the Stephen King guy or the young adult guy?
Probably still the young adult guy.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to sit here and say Stephen King doesn't have a few good books at least. I mean, he's written 500 of them, so a couple of them have to be good.
The monkeys and the typewriters.
Yeah. Stephen King is an odd-looking man too.
You'd have to be to be Stephen King.
How do we feel about H.P. Lovecraft?
I really respect his views on race relations, but his books I could never get into.
I like the name of his cat.
Yeah, Spot.
Yeah, that's it.
What does the HP stand for? Harry Potter?
Hewlett Packard.
I read I've only read one of his stories, and it was a short story. It was about it was about interdimensional dogs that can get you by coming out of corners. So the protagonist in a kind of stereotypical descent into madness plastered all of the corners in a room such that he was in like a rounded cocoon.
Sure.
And eventually the plaster wears down and the dogs catch him unawares, and it's not a very long story, but I was like, okay, this is fine. I wouldn't want to read 20 other versions of this story across his entire works, but sure, it's fine.
One thing I will say about him is that he does a good job of keeping things exciting. He's a good pulp writer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes down to what is left to the imagination, but at the same time, I get the sense that many of his stories just end with an unsatisfying lack of detail. To the point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the guy goes crazy and his cat doesn't save him.
Right. Save me! I almost said...
the cat whose name we can't say.
Earlier versions of the Readier Room would have named the cat.
No, they wouldn't have. We draw the line there. It's
at H.P. Lovecraft's cat.
It's a very vague line, but we still draw it.
We we still purport to be human beings with sensitivity and heart.
Yeah. We do sensitivity training every week.
Yeah, it's weird. I thought we would have graduated by now, but
doing the Readier Room every week really it's really trying.
I'm really trying to get this show off the fucking ground. So,
all right, why don't we do question of the week?
Well, before that, I have to share news from my life. We spent 40 minutes talking about your life. Why can't I talk about my life? I've been, and you've probably heard me, the pitter patter of little footsteps as I leave the share house here. But I've been night running for the past week, from around midnight to 1:30. And it's a great way to clear my head of all the bullshit that you subject me to.
That's nice.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, I've been in and out of running at different points in my life. I've consistently enjoyed it though. And I really, really like the immense muscle pain you get the following day.
Yeah, it feels really good. It feels like you did something.
Exactly. And I was gonna make a I've been running, and boy are my arms tired. I almost said joke, but that's not really a joke. But I was gonna say that. But the thing is, my arms actually are very, very tired from swinging them as I
From
run.
flailing them around.
Yeah. When you
Night
run?
running is great though.
It is. When you run, do you do the limp wrist that is apparently better to do?
I run like an anime girl.
With toast in your mouth?
I mean, that's an essential aspect of it. Yeah.
I run like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, better. You're aerodynamic that way.
Right. Well, I mostly meant that my legs become like a comically spinning circle under me.
They become like a Mobius strip.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my arms are stationary, just ready to go.
But that's only when you're at max speed, of course.
Yes. I do start things off with a nice drop dash.
Right. and you know that's why you run at night, because you got to make sure there's no one in the way to kind of trip you up.
Right. I mean, that's an issue of public safety at that
right.
point.
And plus, you know, you'll lose your past signpost if you stop in the middle of hitting top speed.
Yeah,
and you'll never be able to come back.
The prime source of my immortality was accidentally going back into the past on a run one time and not being able to come back out.
Right.
I've just been reliving that same loop, and for some reason at the end of the loop I choose to go running again, which just resets things, but I can't. I'm caught in a space-time loop. And you're not helping.
Well, I mean, the Readier Room must go on. You're not allowed to leave.
This is, without a joke, the 45th time we've done the Readier Room. Yeah, we're going to finish it again. We're going to get to Season 7. We're going to say, that was fun. Let's not do it again. And then I'm going to go running, and I'm going to be thrown back.
Well, it's nice to know we finish it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't like to mess with space-time continuum so much. I don't mean to spoil things, but look forward to that. We do get to the end of this journey. So I'll do the question of the week, which by this point I could recite to you verbatim without having read it. So this week's question of the week comes... I always struggle with this, just if we're being candid about past lives. Jonathan, Jonathan, who asks, Kapla, Admirals, I'm curious, what do you two even know of Klingon culture? I happen to be an expert, you know. I've brewed my own blood wine and dined on the finest targ every night while visions of sugar plum battles and victories dance in my rigid head. I challenge you. Is there no honor in the entertainment industry? Are you two just dirty patuk?
Oh.
Can't believe you'd say that. Prove your honor. Well, I'll leave that to you.
Jonathan, if that is your real name, I will have you know that even during my Jock Tala, I was expertly trained and masterful at the use of the Duktog and of course the Botleth.
Are those inherently honorable forms of combat? Just to be sure.
They are, yeah, of course they are. As long as you become one with them.
The only thing I'm one with is you.
Oh, that's nice, honey.
Thanks.
Is that kosher in Klingon society?
You're thinking of the Jews.
Oh. Then no.
No. But I've seen you training.
I mean, by the time I'd been promoted to the rank of Beck, I was the best Suvol on my ship.
That's really that's surprising that you had it in you to make it to that rank.
Come on. You never believed in me.
Well, I mean, you come in one day and you're like, I'm gonna be Beck, and I I'm there with my Klingon to English dictionary, flipping through the pages. I'm not an expert on Klingon culture. I'm the odd duck here, but I get honor in my own ways. I help strangers. I help little old women, and I've never killed a man without looking him in the eye.
No, that's important.
Yeah,
That's honorable.
right. Now, dishonor among thieves is those people who stab in the back or snipe somebody out of a second-story window.
Or, spawn kill.
Yeah, or teabag.
Or dress up like a man when they're a woman to join the army.
Right. Or is this a G.I. Jane situation?
No, I was thinking of someone who had hair.
Ah, I see. Well, just get their name out of your mouth and we'll be good. There's no honor in insulting a man's wife.
No. Not at all.
Right. But you've heard it here first. The Readier Room is the most honorable podcast available.
That's right. Eat your heart out, Orb.
Yeah. The Orb, Ladies of Trek, the Ready Room, all full of dishonor.
Especially the Ready Room.
Yeah, just disgusting.
The captain's chair.
Oof. Tuesday Trek. No honor.
The artificial tango.
The Artemis Fowl.
Earl Grey.
I think of all the names, Earl Grey is the one that just pisses me off the most.
It's awful, isn't it?
It's really bad.
What does Earl Grey do anyway?
Like, what do they talk about?
Yeah, Earl Grey is a podcast dedicated entirely to Star Trek: The Next Generation, not an episode review show. Earl Grey explores specific elements of TNG through unexpected topics that truly capture the spirit of exploring every nook and cranny of Star Trek. Okay.
On this episode, we're going to talk about Data's humanity.
Yeah, exactly. There's one about polygamy.
On this episode, we're going to talk about Picard's desk crystal.
Well, that would have been helpful for both of us last week. Yeah, somehow they get like an hour and a half out of these things. If you're Riker, never go to sleep. Which I imagine the entire conceit of that could be covered in about 1 minute, where you describe the plot to a handful of episodes, which is all the same, where Riker goes insane and then stops being insane.
What I like are the in the description, not an episode review show.
Yeah.
Like the shameful
like
existence that would be.
You think you're better than us?
Get out of here.
Well, we're still going. They ended 2 years ago.
I guess they ran out of random topics to talk about.
They had 333 episodes.
That's disgusting. That's
nuts, isn't it?
There's more episodes than Star Trek had. What the hell? Is their last episode like a tearful goodbye?
Let's see. Their last episode was I Will Feel It for the Both of Us.
I said that once. It's not a good line.
Now, if we separated the podcast into the first hour and a half and the second hour and a half, we'd have like 150 episodes.
That's true. We'd also have a Star Trek agnostic alt-right podcast.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before those hit pieces start rolling in.
Yeah, the Readier Room, a group of chuds?
Local Democrat voters actually hate black people?
Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to contribute to that one, lest I get myself in some hot water again.
Hot water.
Hot water, hot water. Huh. Well, thank you, Jonathan.
You've had 40 something cycles to get this right.
I got it right on, I think, on number 33, and I rode that high for too long. I forgot to practice.
You lost it, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like John, and you would like us to answer your question of the week, you can send it to us at thereadierroom@gmail.com. It's with capital T and 2 capital R's, or you can tweet at the Readier Room with your question, and we will answer it on our very insightful question of the week segment.
Couldn't get that out without laughing.
So we're going to move on to the episode of Star Trek after we take a very, very deliberate break. See you in a bit. And we're back to talk about Star Trek.
We're back.
Talk about that show.
Once again, what do we have? Reunion.
Yeah. I'll start with this one. I think this might be my favorite episode.
Huh?
I think this might be my favorite episode of TNG.
What about the most toys?
I mean, that one's up there. I'm not saying that this one is. I'm going to leave myself deniability just in case I am falling prey to recency bias, but I have seen this before, of course, but I think this episode is excellent.
I'm actually surprised.
Yeah?
That you say that. Not because I think otherwise, but I thought you might take umbrage with a few things.
I thought I would too, to be honest. Alexander shows up, and I'm like, no, not him. One or two other things that make me kind of that discourage me, but none of these things actually become issues with the episode, which is why I ultimately liked it so much. Is that it doesn't have much of anything working against it, and it's got a whole lot working for it.
Yeah, sure.
This is one of the first times I feel compelled to use the phrase space opera. It has a lot of those vibes.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it actually does, kinda.
Well, there's murder, there's political intrigue, there's romance, there's rather dramatic, introduction of a unknown child. All this family drama going on of shame and dishonor, and it's not to say that any of this is highbrow stuff, and really neither is opera at the end of it, but it just has that more dramatic flair to all the proceedings.
Yeah, and I think it's particularly great because it's Worf. You get to see this kind of. I think this is the most vulnerable he's been.
Certainly.
And this is why he became such a popular character. Because we had, I mean, Ron Moore, I think, writes Klingon stuff amazingly. He's very into the little details, the weapons, the culture, the ships.
I mean, a lot of that continues to be introduced in every time he writes.
Yeah. He's always coming up with new stuff. So it's like that's part of it, but he just really knows how to work with Klingons as people too, like as a believable race of people, and Worf really benefits from that.
So I just completely loved this episode, and the crazy thing is that when I started rewatching it this week, I knew what was going to happen. I knew the beats of the story, but I do not recall enjoying this episode as much as I did this time. At all.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, we've both seen this episode probably a handful of times at least. And yeah, this is probably the first time that it's hitting me how good it is. And maybe it's just because I until now I had never tended to watch Star Trek all the way through every week. You know, I'd go on long hiatuses or just, you know, completely skip things altogether.
Pick random episodes.
Yeah, so maybe it's just coming off of, like, I know how bad it gets. It is very recently burned into my mind. And I know how good it gets. And yeah, this is really great.
I was kind of hoping you would dislike the episode so we could have a nice little fight.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be things that I can point out that aren't particularly great, but yeah, I mean that's kind of the problem. This is just a great episode. But I mean, you know, we do have one interesting thing: Jonathan Frakes directing,
right? While acting in the episode.
Yeah, imagine that. Barely, but yeah, he does it. Frakes was ecstatic that he got to direct well, in his words, a non-gay episode,
right?
After he did The Offspring,
which was pretty gay. If we're
it was gay, yeah. I mean, I don't blame him, but the fascinating thing, and one of the most unique things he did as a director was he had this very strict regimen.
Was that regiment or regiment?
Oh, sorry, regiment.
I see.
He had a regimen with his regiment of Klingon actors. Every actor who played a Klingon, he would call them in first thing in the morning. They'd get their hours before everyone else. And at this point, Frakes had he'd become kind of disenfranchised with Big Onion. So
it was always his crusade.
Yeah. Well, you know, he needed his onions, so he became with the money that he got from Trek up to this point, he started his own onion farm, and every morning he'd bring a whole, and I mean his onions were big. They're like big bulbous things, and he'd bring a whole onion for each Klingon actor, and he would sit there and watch all of them, and you know, just to ensure that they ate the whole thing. Before they started filming.
What was it? He said you have to eat the whole thing because it's got estrogen or something?
Yeah, estrogenogic obturation, I think. Yeah, he wanted passionate performances from the Klingons in this episode. The stakes are high. The emotional stakes are high. That is. So, I mean, it did end up working out well.
At the very least, it led to the most aromatic set we've ever had.
Certainly. And you know, the homegrown onions really do smell different.
They do, and they smell as different as they hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, when you're the one in the
no cap,
when you're the one in the director's chair, these are the types of executive decisions that you get to make. And Frakes took full advantage of that.
Yeah, he was a more creative director than we'd ever had.
In that kind of, I noticed maybe one of the very first shots of the episode, is this low shot of Riker, Picard, and Worf behind them, where they're sitting in their chairs on the bridge and Worf's at tactical, and it's just a relatively well framed shot that is grabbing. It grabs in a way that most of the shots don't. Frakes, as loath as I am to admit it, is kind of a competent director.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. I don't really have anything bad to say about the direction of this episode, the cinematography, all that. I mean, the music, it's all on point. Everything's just done so well.
usually when one of the actors would direct an episode of TNG or any other production I've been on, it's always this it's a lot of humoring, like
yeah, it's like a gimme, it's I want to be a director.
like when a kid would go and visit the pilots on an airplane in the cabin. I guess they don't do that anymore, but
they get to drive the bulldozer.
right. They put on an oversized hat of some sort, and
they cover it in 3 feet of bulletproof steel, and rampage throughout the town.
Yes, exactly. I hate it when that happens.
It's a ever increasingly common occurrence.
Whenever I go out on the town, I'm always wary.
People always shout.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, what are we talking about?
Oh, there's the killdozer.
It's the killdozer. Not again.
No, it's a killdozer.
A Dracula pops out the hatch.
Oh my god. Look, my own mother was the victim of a killdozer. I can talk about this.
I've been recently re-obsessed with the killdozer.
Really, that's your latest. That's your latest My Boom, the killdozer.
Yeah, yeah.
What's so?
It's really impressive.
What's so electrifying about the killdozer?
Well, I think we've all kind of felt
discontent,
felt a certain way about people kind of screwing us over. And this guy really took matters into his own hands.
I mean, I felt that before too, but not enough to killdoze.
Well, it's helped by the fact that he didn't hurt anyone. So
then the killdozer really didn't live up to its name. But what did he do? He took down a bank.
He took down like several buildings, like at least half a dozen, probably more.
But the bank was his primary target, was it not?
I don't know if it was his primary target. I think his primary target was the guys building the steel mill or whatever next to him.
Now here's an ethical conundrum for you. If you're minding your own business and you see that your neighbor is surreptitiously constructing a killdozer, do you tell anyone?
No, I simply wait for him to complete it and destroy my building.
You're taking out your garbage. He's coming home from work, and you're like, "Hey, yeah, I saw you build that killdozer. What are you planning to do with that?"
It's quite the killdozer you got there. What's the mileage on that baby?
Yeah, I used to have a killdozer myself. Not 20 years ago.
You used to take the kids on rides throughout the village.
Yeah, I killdozed a time
across
or two.
the street. Just killdoze my way across the crosswalk.
The hip new company comes out with a convertible killdozer. The top comes down.
Which is a big improvement because he couldn't get out of it. He had to kill himself because he couldn't get out.
That's also my plan for escaping various situations. I learned this cool trick from the movies. I keep a pill of cyanide stashed under my tongue at all times.
Yeah, right. Must be nice having that option.
Yeah, it's assuring, really. Reassuring, even.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in line at the DMV or government office and it's like if I'm not seeing in the next I'm taking the pill.
Sure wish I had a cyanide pill right about now.
Yeah. I use that to emotionally blackmail people as well. Like if I'm not getting my way in a conversation.
Yeah. I'm gonna kill myself.
Right. And then they're like, no, you're not. And you're like, I got the pill. And they're like, oh, okay, all right, we'll get Denny's tonight.
Right.
We'll say Readier. We'll say anything, whatever.
Readier.
Oh Lord! So,
all right, but the reunion.
Yes, the reunion.
So we got we got quite a few people back here. We got
Kalar.
We got Susie back as Kalar.
Yep.
Right. We got Patrick back for
as
Duras.
Picard. Oh, that Patrick.
And Massett. And the wonderful Charles Cooper.
Right, the late
Kempek. God bless him.
The late great Charles Cooper.
Yeah, who actually he had quite the effect on this episode conceptually.
Yeah, he was. I'd say the primary inspiration. If we're gonna get to the plot in a bit, but Kempek dies. He's been poisoned by poison blood wine, and that leaves a power vacuum inside of the Klingon Empire. And we knew that
And it's threatening to suck them all up.
right, it's gonna decompress the entire universe. We knew that Charles was also on his way out, so to speak. We took direct inspiration. Charles always had a bit of a drinking problem, poisoned his liver, a lot of wine. He wined and dined one too many times.
So, lots of dining.
Right. So we knew that if we were ever going to involve the High Council again, and Kempek wasn't there, people, where's Kempek? He's my favorite Klingon. So we had to write him out, and it kind of opened the door to do this grander story about politics in the Klingon Empire. And Charles was cool with it. He was coming to terms with his death at the time. And I think that this episode was kind of a vessel for that emotional readiness.
Well, the serendipitous thing too is that those scenes where Kempek is dead in the chair, he's actually dead there.
Which is
he
why he
died on set.
That's why we were able to tase the body without any adverse effect to Charles.
Right, and you see him glow. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of heat.
Achieving that effect took some ingenuity. To get a stun rod, a taser that could heat something so hot so fast.
Right. We did have permission from his family to do that.
Right. We got it after the fact, but they did ultimately consent.
Yeah, so that's all that really matters.
Right. Now, because, he's dead, whenever someone else close to me dies, I always say, well, they're hanging with Mr. Cooper now, up in heaven.
Yeah, that's what we used to say.
I can't wait until Will is hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper sounds like a Tom Hanks film.
Sounds like a bad sitcom. Oh, wait. Now, let me challenge you. Do you know the difference between Hanging with Mr. Cooper and A Minute with Stan Hooper?
Is this where I ask, no, what's the difference?
Well, this isn't a joke. Just to set your expectations accordingly.
No, what's the difference?
Well, they're both sitcoms. One of them involved some tall black man, and the other one was Norm Macdonald. Norm's great, or he was, and then he fucking died. But he has the worst sitcoms ever. Of all time.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. I mean, I think it's a double whammy, right? He's probably not a good actor.
Definitely not a good actor.
And the producers of the show, the studio, everyone involved in those higher up positions probably like don't get him.
Right.
So.
And I mean, just imagine that let's say you get Norm, you get it, and you're a comedy writer. How do you write a 23-minute sitcom that highlights Norm's style of humor?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. It fundamentally doesn't work.
Oh yeah, I mean it's basically a guy like sleepwalking through life.
Right. Which is relatable.
Yeah, but not
funny.
funny when he's not the one like observing it for you.
Right. I've spent enough time revisiting the Norm sitcoms on YouTube to know that I do not value my time very highly.
And that's the problem too with sitcoms. When you're like the main character of the sitcom, you're always the straight guy.
Right. Whereas
usually you are.
We know that Norm was in fact deeply closeted, so that it never worked for him to play the straight guy.
Right. It was tragic.
Yeah. Now, have you ever watched Queer Eye for the Straight Guy?
Quite a bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, I was on that show.
Really?
I worked on that show.
Oh, okay.
But I always say that I was on it because I was on the set. Like I stood
were you
on it.
Were you the titular Queer Eye?
No, I was the titular
Great. Great. Yeah, I can work with that. Awesome.
I leave you adrift, bereft of
oar. Like the guy you play tennis with who just like shoots the ball up into the fucking air, and flies into the forest.
Well, sometimes you just have to, it's your serve. You serve up something else. Volleys end.
Serve up a can of whoop ass.
Have I ever told you about my my father's can of whooping?
No.
Okay. This is a real story.
Okay.
Back when I was a kid,
1920s.
Yeah, however many 100 years ago, there was a can on top of my family's, I guess it was more of an ice box at the time than a refrigerator. Like a literal box with ice in it. And, the can was just there and it was out of reach of all the children and it had a life of its own. It was spoken of, and my father always referred to it as his can of whooping. And there would be threats like, "Oh, I'm gonna open the can of whooping," because he wouldn't say whoop ass, because yeah.
Yeah, right.
He he had the constitution such that he would not say ass, but would still threaten to beat his children. And it was just always there. And it took 20 or so years before one of us deigned to grow up into an adult to reach on top of the ice box and open the can ourselves, before we found out that the only thing inside of it was a fake mustache.
The implication being that if you misbehaved enough, he would put the fake mustache on.
No, don't make me wear the mustache.
And he would put it on himself and then diddle you. As punishment.
Well, no, that was more of a reward.
Now, did he ever glow?
Was he he was not quite a glowy. Which is the name of my...
Glowy but a goodie.
It's the name of my young adult novel. Not quite a glowy. So Reunion, the very first scene.
Reunion, yeah. So yeah, the Enterprise is they're investigating radiation anomalies.
It'll never not amaze me your capacity to remember the trivial set dressing.
You know what's happened though? Like the thing is, like I've experienced this so many times where we'll start talking about an episode and I'll be like, how did they get in this situation?
Yeah.
And I found it annoying enough to the point where I'm like, I will intentionally remember all these stupid setups.
Just so you don't have to...
so I don't sound like an idiot,
It's never occurred to me to not sound like an idiot.
Well, I figure we're doing that 99% of the time. We might as well sound sort of smart once or twice an episode, you know.
That's my go-to for when I concoct stories to tell about TNG. I just want to sound smart.
Right. Which that's what we do here.
Yeah, like that time I corrected and edited an entire script by myself because the science was all wrong in it. And I said that's not how quantum mechanics work. And
right. Yeah, no, that's right. And you brought that script in the next day. Everyone gave you a standing ovation.
Right.
I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson was there. He gave you a medal. He put it around your neck.
Yeah, and then he kissed himself in the mirror.
Old habits die hard, I guess. Excuse me while I kiss myself in the mirror.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, no one's ever made that joke before, asshole.
I'm flattered that you would refer to it as a joke.
No, there's something there for sure. But we're talking about reunion.
Are we though?
I do want to note before we get too far, Worf's little secret message here.
Yes.
He reads off. There's like a bearing reading of Klingon vessels approaching the ship, and this is within like the first 30 seconds of the episode. He says bearing 010 Mark 237, and if you read it backwards, it's actually a subtle nod to the date of the Saturday Night Massacre, which notably preceded Saturday Night Live by 2 whole years. So there you go.
Just a little serendipity.
Yeah. It's just kind of funny the things we got right.
Now, Saturday Night is all right both for fighting and massacring, apparently. Who'd thought?
Who'da thunk?
Who'da thunk? I thunk quite often. I'm a big thunker. One might call me a thunkalunker.
A thunk lover.
Yes. It's I buy my Thunk Lovers pizza every week. Nothing, alright. So
right in the forest.
So the Klingon ship approaches and Kalar comes aboard, but not alone.
Kalar? Right.
Kalar?
Yeah. No, you're right, Kalar. I was just echoing the name Kalar.
Yeah. She's flanked by Alexander. The
namesake of the first Master Chef Junior winner.
Indeed. And immediately you're like, what? Yeah, you do like a Harrison Ford face. Like, what? Is that what Harrison Ford is known for?
Yeah, he does that like weird rubber face thing.
I thought he was known for crossing rivers.
Ah, not bad. You made me think. And, that's all I can ask for.
Right. So how do you feel about the introduction of Alexander?
Conceptually or practically?
Either's fine. Maybe both.
It's tough. Because conceptually, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But Star Trek is a show that, by its own nature, can't let a character evolve like this. And I'm talking about Worf in a normal way. Which is why he hands Alexander off to his parents at the end, because he's got to be available to go on wacky adventures.
Right,
for the next 5
can't be
seasons.
Responsible for a kid.
Right, so he comes off as a deadbeat dad.
which is
in pretty much every aspect. A little on the nose.
we ironically enough, I think I've mentioned this to you. This problem came up in DS9 at the very end of the series, where Cisco is spirited away to join the Prophets, and James Avery had a problem with that because he didn't want Cisco to be depicted as leaving his family. Because of stereotypes.
Yeah.
So it's just straight up, like literally, and
that's funny.
It is funny.
But yeah, I mean, we get that here. Worf, throughout the episode, and obviously it's in a different context, but throughout the episode, he refuses to take responsibility for his kid. And then at the end, even after the kid's mother is dead, he tells his kid, I'm sending you away because I need to be available for poker night. They could have worked this into the show in the future, but I mean, I don't.
Well, Alexander does come back, but
but I mean, like, there's no reason Alexander couldn't just be like around.
No, because when they bring him back, he is just around. He stays on the ship.
Yeah,
but I don't want to say that the characters aren't capable of growth, because ostensibly this episode is all about Worf's character growth and his development. How he's kind of coming to terms with having a son in relation to his reverence for Klingon culture, and how that would negatively impact Alexander. And I thought that little arc was satisfying.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's pretty much what it should be. It's just that I don't know. It really is just the nature of the show, where it's like, this isn't gonna end the way it should, which is Worf taking responsibility for his kid instead of sending him away. But whatever. If that needs to be the concession, then so be it. I agree. It's a good arc. It's paced well,
but
it plays off of the whole discommendation and stuff, which is
right.
Cool.
Continuity. But you're right in that it does feel a little static in how the environment regresses to the mean. There is no added member to the cast of Alexander being around, and he's not going to be mentioned for however many more episodes.
Yeah. Now Alexander himself, this was casting him was a project.
It was.
I recall
there were several steps in the conceptualization of this character, where initially I don't know if he was going to be a mini Worf or what, but the idea is like, okay, Klingons are these warriors. They are very fierce, and the Klingon children, would show that ferocity even more because they haven't really learned to restrain it yet. It was described as an irritability and innate rage. And I think our casting director really had it set that the only person that could really accurately portray this was a dwarf.
Sure.
Maybe that's not a midget. And
a little person.
Right. But big of heart. And the idea being that, okay, these people are very, very... they're kind of like Klingons in a way. They go through life with these chips on their shoulders.
Sure.
And they just got to keep brushing off those tortilla chips. And
they're like ticking time bombs.
Exactly. But eventually, we took a different direction for the character. The writer said, no, let's make Alexander more of a pussy. And at that point, a dwarf couldn't accurately portray somebody who's pussyfooting around by virtue of how small their feet are. So
right.
So we scrapped that idea, went back to the drawing board, and we just got a kid.
Yeah. We ended up with John Stewart, who wouldn't be sticking around, and also tragically killed himself several decades later once he did realize that he'd completely failed to keep the role of a child's bit part in Star Trek.
Yeah, he peaked
which
very early.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up basically condemning him to perpetual failure in basically every space. The sci-fi film Late for Dinner, punk band Soda Pop Kids, and I think most upsettingly, famed Portland vegan restaurant Harvest at the Bindery.
There's got to be another rank. There's master, there's jack of all trades, and then there's failure of all trades.
It's got to be the most common.
Yeah. I mean,
that's why there's no name for it.
Now, I've always been a bit of a trader myself. One might call me Joe. So I know a thing or two about the trades. I ply them.
What?
I ply my trade.
You ply your trade? Is that a phrase?
Yeah. Have you never heard that?
No.
Well, you can imagine what it means. It just means to do whatever it is you do. I ply my trade. I plumb.
I ply my trade.
Yeah. I'm a plumber. I plumb. Or I'm a carpenter. I build. I'm plying my trade. I'm constructing something.
All right.
Yeah, you sound suspicious. But
I don't know. I just never heard it before.
I want you to rest assured. But the Alexander character in this episode, the performance of the child is fine. It's not really...
It's a kid.
It's not notable, whereas some other children characters, actors are more grating. And I think future depictions of Alexander do reach that level of being on the more annoying side of things, but here it's just more of a non-element. He's more of a plot device than a character or an actor.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, you're right. You do get kids that are a lot worse, a lot more annoying. On the other hand, sometimes you do get kids who are much sexier.
Right.
So this Alexander kind of falls smack dab in the middle. He's a jack of all trades.
Right. Sometimes he's got the bedroom eyes. Sometimes he's rough and tumble.
And he didn't know how to turn him off. Sometimes he'd look at me and
Children haven't yet mastered controlling that power. Then again, I haven't either.
It's a good thing I can't see you over there.
I'm like a siren. I've led many ships of men to their demise. By going wee.
Arr, what the hell is that?
Oh my god, it's a siren. Wee.
They'll crowd around it like flies.
Like the opening of Pants.
Of what?
Pants?
You're really testing the limits of my knowledge today.
You don't know what a fly is? Like, oh, your fly's open.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like a movie.
Oh, like the opening.
The opening pan. Yeah.
That's inspired.
I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? All right, where were we?
Reunion. Alexander.
Reunion. Alexander, yeah.
Kalar.
Okay, yeah. So Kalar beams aboard the ship with Alexander. Worf is... Oh, what?
He's gobsmacked. Smacked by Gob.
Smacked by Gob. And, I guess they talk... Oh, here's how it starts after the intro. Alexander is in like kindergarten. He's in space kindergarten.
Right, and there's all these 8 to 10-year-olds playing with blocks.
Right. And it's the future. And they're watching him through the glass. I guess they go back to Kalar's room, right?
Yeah.
And they have this, this back and forth about like, oh, the kid is Worf's, and I can't take responsibility for him because it would dishonor him and all that stuff. And Halar, and this is the seed of what would become the big conflict of the episode. She knows that Worf wouldn't have accepted this commendation if not for some kind of extenuating circumstance, right?
Right.
So she kind of tries to pry him on it, but then the scene is interrupted, like two anime teenagers about to kiss, by Picard calling them both to the bridge.
Yeah, he says.
Which curiously,
Yeah.
he calls them to the bridge to tell them to meet him later.
I didn't
That was
quite
cool.
pick up on that, but that is amazing. I love that.
Needed some kind of excuse to not let Kalar know what happened.
Gotta keep the mystery alive.
Yeah,
But I am a big fan of how it really is a spot of continuity that's the driving impetus for basically the entire episode.
yeah. I mean, it's nice. It's nice to play around in this universe and actually have consequences.
Especially given the fact that something like this commendation is such a big thing that it should have meaningful consequences. Worf should be beaten up about this.
He should feel like shit.
He should feel like shit, fucker.
He should feel like a big gay doo-doo man.
And he is a big gay doo-doo man.
So
Picard says, "Meet me later." And
oh wait, you know what? I think I might have skipped over Picard meeting
Kempek?
Yeah.
Kempek. Right. Which is a great scene. I really loved it.
Yeah.
It's one thing I really liked. Charles Cooper's
Is
performance.
the lighting.
The lighting was great. The political intrigue of it, of Picard getting drawn into this political turmoil against his will. It's just a great scene.
Yeah, I'm
everywhere.
glad to hear you liked it too, because watching that scene, I remember, very, very explicitly thinking like this is awesome. Like this is like peak Trek right here.
I remember in this rewatch of it, I sat forward in my chair at this part.
That never happens.
Realized I had leaned forward, and I'm like, wow, I'm really into this. And the episode just never let up from there.
Yeah. It's a good scene.
Scenes of that strength are primarily why I hold this episode in such high regard.
Yeah, I mean the whole, like you said, the political intrigue. It's really what I think that's kind of the driving factor here. But also, and I'm sure you'd agree, that Picard being thrust into this purely because Kempek met him once and I guess clearly respected him and confides in him despite the difference in culture. It's an interesting little I don't know use of or what do I want to say? It's interesting because first of all, you wouldn't expect it, obviously. But it makes the Klingons as a whole kind of feel a lot more intimate.
Yeah, and I
as a viewer, I think
I like when the characters are held in high regard for logical reasons.
Yeah,
It's not just, oh, you're Picard, you're the main character, of course I love you.
Right.
It's, you on screen helped me before and demonstrated your prowess, so I'm turning to you. It all just makes sense. And the way that fans can venerate characters and in the meta of the show, they become these great things. It's nice to see logical in-universe reasons that the characters are respected as they are.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Instead of like a teenage girl running into the hospital to see Picard hooked up to a fucking iron lung because he's 200 years old, she's like, "Aren't you Picard? Aren't you Jean-Luc Picard,
And
the captain of the Enterprise?" And he says, "I always love the stars."
just says, some loose wind escapes his mouth.
Yeah.
His robotic text-to-speech takes over.
Oh, he is a golem.
Why did you make me so fucking old?
I like to imagine he's a proper like Jewish golem.
He's there to protect the Israelites.
His driving mission, whether he knows it or not, is to return to Jerusalem.
That's a vaporwave image right there. Return to Jerusalem.
Oh shit.
We keep going on these tangents. I don't know how we got there.
So Picard meets with Kempek, and Kempek seems to abruptly die while he's there, because someone's been poisoning his wine, and I guess there's no cure.
Because of radiation.
So, right. So, what Picard needs to do is help facilitate the choosing of the new Klingon leader. And there's only two who really qualify.
Yeah.
And it's Duras
and Galron.
Galron, yeah.
Duras being a character we've met before, Galron being a new character. And
right.
I like that dynamic. It's like, all right, here's Duras, here's this guy, we know he's up to no good, but Galron just is completely fucking insane.
Yeah, he comes off as a loose cannon for sure, and he's always making that face.
That's just his face. Like, that's the guy's face. But there's like one really funny moment. I think it's when Galron first shows up, and someone just says like, "Oh, not like hello Galron," but like, "Oh, and here's Galron," and the camera cuts to him, and he's just sitting there with that face, just looking. It's like a comedy shot, and
the very first shot of him in this episode is such dog shit quality. I think they lost the original footage.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's all grainy and
yeah,
terrible.
It's all poopy.
Why does it look like poop? But Galron ends up being a very, very, very long reoccurring character.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll touch upon that when we wrap up here for the most part. But yeah, he's and we were talking off mic too, and I was saying he does end up looking progressively less crazy, I think.
Yes.
Just because you can't have someone unhinged lead like the second most important faction in your sci-fi universe.
But I think part of it is the depiction, but also the perception from the audience of.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
Yeah, because when you first meet him, you don't know anything about him, and you see those crazy eyes. But once you know what his general shtick is and what he's capable of, and the fact that that's just his face, your assumptions change.
Well, and I think the whole point here was for him to be something of a red herring.
Yes.
Which I'm glad he was, because like it's really setting you up to expect Duras to be innocent.
Right, because of how insane Galron appears to be.
How insane he is, and how everyone's harping on Duras this entire episode. And you expect like, oh, actually they shouldn't have judged him. But no, he's just an asshole. And I love that. I love that. It's just straightforward, completely makes sense. It's perfect. One thing I do want to note about Duras was that this is something a lot of people don't know. I think the writers were actually playing with the idea of putting him and Kalar together, like in a relationship. Like they would have started dating in the interim between her episodes. So like he would have beamed aboard with her instead of just Alexander there. But ultimately, the writers decided unanimously that it just wouldn't be worth pursuing because the studio preemptively cracked down on the centerpiece scene, I guess you would call it, where Worf was going to snowball Duras's fluids, I guess you would call them.
Yeah.
With Kalar after watching them,
Yeah, that never made it, obviously, to filming, but it was a very, very valuable piece of knowledge that I'm thankful to have learned of the concept of snowballing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if the ensigns need to brush up on their lingo, you can always go to www.urbandictionary.com.
It's a fun evening waiting to happen, both learning the word and applying it.
Physically.
Yes. Now, the Klingons are introduced. This is where the bomb goes off?
This is where the bomb goes off.
A bomb goes off.
And we get this like weird slow-mo explosion.
Right, and then cut to commercial. And it's like, wow, bombs, intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
And the situation's already tense enough, but now it's like, oh, who set off the bomb? Is it the guy that I think? And actually, yes, but...
But maybe it's the new crazy guy.
Right. I don't know, Gowron's just cool.
Gowron was always cool.
He was cool, but there's a lot of guest stars in Trek, a lot of people playing a lot of different aliens, and throughout the entire franchise, Gowron kind of comes unique amongst all that. I think so, anyway. There's not a lot of guest stars that live up to that.
You're the DS9 guy, so.
And he does factor into DS9. There's a really good episode where Gowron is suspected to be a changeling, and a crew consisting of Sisko, Odo, O'Brien, and Worf get plastic surgery to look like Klingons and go to kill him.
Wow, Worf got plastic surgery to look like a Klingon?
Yes, he did. But you haven't lived until you've seen Klingon O'Brien.
I wonder if I can just look this up right now.
Probably. They all look weird, actually. The Klingon Sisko, Klingon Odo, but Klingon O'Brien is the real.
I think I've actually seen this before.
It seems like a good.
That's beautiful.
A good non sequitur to start a Trek thread with.
I think he looks good.
Yeah, but it's just very notable.
His giant Irish fucking head.
Is that an Irish trait?
Yeah, the giant head.
The potato head. That's why they call it Mr. Potato Head.
You're right. Sisko looks terrible.
Oh, yeah. And they all got these teeth in, and they sound like, they got big fake teeth in.
Yeah. That's funny.
But it is a really good episode. The primary conflict is that there's a 24-hour, 48-hour party going on that the characters have to endure before Gowron shows up. And they're like, oh my god, no more blood wine. And Worf's like, pussies. It's pretty good. But enough about DS9.
One day I'll watch it.
No, you won't. You'll never watch DS9. You're just not a man of culture.
Maybe once they release it in HD.
That'll never happen.
in HD.
In HED. What happened next? The bomb goes off. They return.
Bomb goes off.
They return to the Enterprise. Is this where Worf teaches Alexander about the art of the Batleth?
Yeah. So wait. So he picks him up from space kindergarten.
Gay care.
Yeah, care. Brings him back to Kalar's room.
Right, because he's not getting along with the other kids. He's stealing. Now, this was the one strange bit of writing that I really identified in this episode. So Alexander seems to be the typical Klingon. He doesn't get along with the other kids. He's aggressive. He growls at them. So Worf, takes him out to scold him. But immediately in the next scene, Alexander is shown to not have much of an interest in being a Klingon or knowing about it.
Right.
So it's kind of playing both sides of the fence there.
The implication being that Klingon aggression is genetic.
Right. Which,
Hugging my collar right now. But yeah, you're right. It's an odd contrast that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, he takes him to Kalar's room.
Take him to Kalar.
Alexander has not become trans. And we get to see Worf's sex face here.
I like Worf's sex face.
Which is it's just him staring wide-eyed at her with like this dumb smirk on his face.
That's just his general arousal face, no matter what's arousing him.
Yeah, right. It could be completely non-sexual arousal,
and we
there you
never
go.
know.
But yeah, so they're still having this problem where Worf just can't accept this Alexander being associated with him because of the dishonor or whatever.
Right. Which is a good direction to take it instead of a this kid, he's not a real Klingon, he's not.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
definitely
is the direction they take it in several later episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know our culture. I don't want to know our culture. It's not my culture.
Literally, kid's been raised by humans for his entire life.
Worf thinking he's a real Klingon.
Yeah, he's LARPing. Yeah. Okay, so Kalar. All right, so at this point we've kind of hit like this junction where it's like the major issue is that the Enterprise needs to figure out who set off the bomb, because Kempek is 100% sure
Kempek's
that
dead.
one of these two guys, he says killed him.
Right. Yes. Okay.
So, whomever set off the bomb is ostensibly the one who killed him. I guess that's the logic.
Right.
And
because both of these acts involve zero honor. There's no honor in killing somebody surreptitiously. There's no honor in secret bombing. So
yeah, there's no honor in toiling surreptitiously either.
No,
that's why only madmen do it.
Exactly. But they have reason to suspect that these two acts are related.
Yeah, sure. Okay, all right, fine. Yeah, so they got to figure out who set off the bomb, while also stalling the choosing of the new leader long enough to be able to conduct an investigation to begin with. And the big issue is that there's very little ceremony involved in this process, at least in the modern variant.
It's kind of funny how the idea is that, Klingons these days don't respect the tradition. They
right.
They just want to get it fucking over with.
Yeah, I did like that, and I liked the idea of, because Kalar introduces Picard this idea. She's in the Readier Room, fish watch. I don't think there's a fish in there.
No,
but she introduces the idea to Picard of, Well, the ancient
Hawaiians.
tradition, as the ancient Hawaiians say, they used to do this thing where each candidate would list off all of their
Triumphs
accomplishments
and
in battle.
battles, yeah.
Yeah. So I really like the idea of this dumb red tape, just stalling, and the Klingons hating it, but not being able to do anything about it.
Well, it's nice because it's it's kind of comical in a way, but it's also it ties into the whole Worf thing. Like Worf's whole conflict in this episode is how he's kind of bound by tradition and the meaning these things have in Klingon culture. And that comes out with these guys are also inextricably bound by Klingon culture.
Yeah, sure.
So it's thematic. It's kind of cute. It's fun. It's nice.
Yeah, it all for once it all connects. And I guess it's I did want to note that Kalar asks Picard about like what happened in that previous episode there where Worf got
Discombobulated.
Yeah. And Picard says, "I'm sorry, I can't discuss it." And there's like a very abrupt like end to that scene.
Yeah.
Where usually it would like linger on Picard's face after she left or something.
This might be one of those times where we have to cut 45 seconds in editing. Find any time that you can cut.
That might be it. Yeah, that might be it. But like, it's still jarring.
I agree.
There's something jarring about it.
It's not the best pacing, to be sure. But
I'm sorry, I can't talk about it.
I do like Picard's. I don't know if it's loyalty to Worf or just how you can kind of tell that it's something he would, given her connection to Worf, something he'd like to mention, but he steadfastly totally stays on that company line.
And I mean, even more important, it's like a very, very volatile political secret of one of the Federation's biggest allies that could completely collapse their political system. So definitely makes sense that he wouldn't want it out there.
There's just a lot of overly friendliness in proceedings sometimes, where characters will just act nonsensically in the name of playing nice. And,
right, like they're lovers and not coworkers.
Right. So there's none of that here, which is good.
Yeah, very good. So now, Alexander is in Worf's room, and he takes a liking to the Batleth.
Right, which is the first appearance of the Batleth.
It is the first appearance of the Batleth.
Which, how do you feel about the Batleth? You like it?
Well, one thing I really like about the Batleth is that Alexander grabs the blade.
I do like that when Alexander reaches for it, Worf has none of this. Like, no, that's a weapon. Don't touch it.
Right.
It's straight up, yeah, you can play with my fucking sword. You're a warrior. Which is a line that's worked for me with many a child. But Batleth is just really cool. Very evocative design. Really, really like the demonstration that Worf gives with it. Where what the first time he like folds it, around his arm, or his arm around it, is where it takes on its own identity as not just being a Kirby sword.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, if you're like us, you'll have watched a good 2-3 hours of chubby white men on YouTube displaying their prowess with the Batleth as well.
Hell yeah!
It's
it takes a lot of
sight to behold.
It takes a lot of training to properly use a Batleth, and I know Michael really put in the time on getting it right. So much so that became part of his just regular workout routine. And he would never say this, but I attribute his rather cut figure on DS9 to all of his Batleth training.
Yeah, he really grew attached to that thing. Right. I think he still has the original Batleth to this day.
Right. Now, I always, when I first heard the name Batleth, when we were getting the script together and, the prop guys were making it, I thought it was a borrow from Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But no, not at all. He's got
No, it's kind of its own thing. Yeah. It is vaguely bat-shaped, though.
Indeed it is. As most things in life are.
Well, I mean, when you put it like that.
Bat-shaped Leth.
Bat.
Now, if you want to hear something from me, which maybe you do.
Yeah, we'll see.
Later on in Deep Space Nine, Worf becomes fond of using this other type of Klingon weapon that's more of a pair of handheld, specifically shaped, I guess they're like daggers, but they have...
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've seen this. And I don't know, I always felt that was unfairly stealing Batleth honor. Stealing its thunder.
Right, sure. I mean, it's more flexible that way, though, isn't it?
It is. And it gives some identity to things where Worf is using those things and Dax would be using the Batleth. And...
Now, I mean, Worf has a lot of things on his wall in this episode, too. He's got, like, a sword and fucking daggers and all that stuff.
He's a real mall ninja.
He's an operative.
Hell yeah.
The government comes knocking on his door. See what happens.
What would happen if the government knocked on Worf's door? That's my fan fiction.
It's a really good skit.
Very engaging. You have anything else to say about Klingon weaponry?
No. Kayla dies.
We're really just trucking along here. It's funny to me that we go on like, I'm never going to be caught with my pants down. I'm going to make a note on how these situations always begin at the start of the episodes. And then like, the actual plot points? I don't fucking know. Maybe they have.
What? No, that's what happens. Kayla just dies.
In this order?
Yes, in this order. Trust me, it's this order.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I have it. I literally have it written down in this order. She starts investigating. She starts investigating.
Yeah, if you're gonna hand wave away the 5 scenes of her investigating.
Okay.
But there's a meeting where because the Enterprise finds that the bomb uses Romulan technology.
Yeah.
And that's the Klingons and Romulans are blood enemies for however long, so that's immediately a point of dishonor. And it's like, oh my god, this is big stuff. They bring it to the 2 people that are in contention, Galron and Duras, and their own investigations hadn't produced this. The Picard tells about the Romulan connection. Galron immediately looks betrayed, angered. It's clear at that point that he's not the guy. And concurrently with this, Kalar is doing her investigation of the Kittimer scandal that Duras is involved in. Duras gets word that this is happening, and then he goes to kill her. This is all like 10 minutes of the episode that you're just...
Well, excuse me.
Brazenly
Maybe I'll leave the summarizing to you instead.
Oh, please don't do that. God, no, don't do that.
But he does kill her.
He does kill her. Kalars.
Kalar? I barely know her.
Yeah.
And Worf comes in, and he comes in with Alexander, and he holds her body, and then screams. He does the Klingon scream thing when someone dies. And here's my favorite part. He sets her down on the floor,
right?
And her arm at this point is like in contact with the table right next to her, but she like, having already died, she kind of just like moves it so it's on the floor. and we were like, yeah, that's it. We'll go with that shot.
There's not always enough time to do several reshoots. I mean, let's be fair.
Right? Yeah.
What do you think? We're made of reshoots? No.
I think we're made in Abyss.
Yes. Now, Alexander takes this very, very well. His mother's death.
Well, that's just following from that one episode where the kid's mother dies, and he's just like, okay.
What was the name of that episode? The Returned?
I forget.
The Revenant?
The Revenant. Yeah, I don't remember.
But yeah, Klingon Howl, I like that. The Scream. This is where she makes the dying request that Worf take on Alexander as his own. Not in a fist fight, mind you, but just as his child. And
not like the Aha song either.
Right. Many confusions can be made here. Misunderstandings. And Worf develops as a character in this moment. Whatever.
Yeah, he does.
I like it. I don't know why I'm so dismissive of it, but I am.
No, it's good. It's great. It's great because it leads to probably one of the best scenes in the entire fucking show.
Specifically, which one are you talking about?
Well, Worf goes back to his room. He takes off his sash, picks up the bat'leth, throws his badge away, and he goes and teleports to to Duras' ship.
Transports
to Duras' ship.
Yeah, I like that. I like where that goes. I'm very, very glad we were able to have the end of this version of the scene in the show. Originally, the producers put in a note like, you can't do this, it's too violent, too much violence in this episode. Worf can win his revenge for Kalar and Klingon arm wrestling was the idea.
Right.
But Frakes, again in his role as director, pushed to have this more violent Worf. Thank God he did.
Yeah. We really want. I think everyone was kind of cheering that on. We wanted blood.
Right. And boy, did we fucking get it.
It's cathartic too, because there's so many episodes that we've seen so far. I mean, even just considering the episodes we've seen up to this point on this rewatch, where the ending really isn't. It's not. It's kind of a compromise most of the time.
Yes.
Because I mean, it's meant to kind of be like a philosophical question in the good episodes. In this one, it's like, well, yeah, you could argue that he shouldn't have killed him, I guess, but you want him to kill him,
right?
And it's so nice for that to finally just happen. And
it's even shot in the way where you would kind of expect it to be. To be that compromise. Worf swings at the ground, and you don't see where his blade lands. You're like, oh, I guess he cut the ground right next to his head, and it's gonna let him off easy this time. But no. Mm-hmm. Just fucking kills him, which is great.
Yeah, it just kills him. And Riker and Data get there too late.
Now, how do you feel about the follow-up to this? Where...
Well... in the Readier Room?
Yeah.
One thing that bothered me is that Picard chastises Worf for letting his culture get in the way of his Starfleet duties. But that seems to imply that Starfleet culture is entirely based on a small segment of Earth norms and standards, as opposed to anywhere else that is part of the Federation, which kind of bothered me.
Well, as always, the human perspective is always the default and the most important.
Right. And not just the human, the Western liberalist perspective.
I agree that is annoying. That didn't stick out to me at the time, but it is a little bit of just.
It seems hypocritical.
Yeah, I was about to say flimsy writing, but not really. It's more of just a lack of thought in the foundation of the show.
Yeah, which, as we've proven time and time again, there's quite the lack of foundation.
Indeed. But aside from that, I do like the notion that for the Klingons, it's a non-issue. Like, Worf did follow their customs. This guy was dishonorable, he was a traitor, so of course they would just fucking kill him. But yeah, I don't want to rehash the argument of how the vision of Starfleet is antithetical to the show's stated purpose of diversity, but this is another place it rears its head.
Yeah, for sure. But it's nice that, Worf doesn't really get any consequences for this, because it is his culture, and the Klingon High Council is totally okay with it.
And Worf's gotten his share of consequences for the discommendation, and that I did like that little discussion where it's implied that this will come to a head in the future.
Yeah, well, it's nice that Picard kind of initiates it too. He's like, it's about time we clear this up. Which is nice.
Yeah. Strong ending to a strong episode.
Mm-hmm. We unfortunately missed out on what was going to be an extra scene that would have capped off the ending.
This also would have been a bit of continuity.
Yeah. I was talking to Brandon one day, and this got cut before filming this idea, but he wanted to end the episode with Crusher being confused about Dr. Solar not showing up to work in the morning.
Right.
And she would have just kind of like been looking around the med bay and kind of just thrown her hands up in the air, and then the credits would start flashing.
Just really, really doing a number to our epileptic viewership. But that would have been a cool little callback to last week. But I suppose this episode is already rich in continuity, and as we saw with that one shot of that one scene ending abruptly, not at a surplus of time.
Yeah, definitely not. Everything was packed very tightly here.
There is a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
The political intrigue of the Klingons, finding the traitor and the perpetrator of this bombing and poisoning, Worf being reintroduced to his love interest, Worf being introduced to his child. There's just so much happening. Picard getting conscripted into this whole endeavor. It's very dense, but it never feels busy or too busy.
Yeah, but when you think about it, there's so much going on that like most of the crew just never shows up.
I actually have that in my notes that they got kind of mogged by these more interesting Klingon characters.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a testament to how packed the show is. That they didn't have time for Data to make any kind of like dumb quips, or for Riker to do the eye thing,
right? And
or
yet,
for Troy to say, "I'm sensing deception, Captain."
And yet they all show up in this episode. None of them are written out for the sake of time. Crusher has a line, Troy has a line, Geordi, Data, Riker.
Well, I guess it's less that they were written out and more that they couldn't have been written in.
Right.
Because there's just too much going on.
I just think it's amazing that they managed to include them despite all the things that needed to happen, scenes that needed to occur. I'd give this episode 5 out of 5 saucer steps.
Yeah, I don't know if I can help but give it a 5. Maybe a 4.5 to a 5, somewhere around there.
Don't like it as much as I do?
Maybe not. I think Susie is often overacting.
Yes, I could buy that.
And
do you think think Galron's actor is overacting?
No, he's a man, so he has no faults. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if I'm comfortable with giving it a perfect score, because I don't know. I guess it's as close to perfect as the show gets, so maybe it does deserve it. I don't know.
I don't like to get caught up in the philosophy of giving something a perfect score. Like, oh, is it truly perfect? Does that matter?
You just feel it.
I feel that this episode's a 5.
So it's a 5.
I give it a 5 to distinguish it from episodes I would give a 4.5 to.
I give it a 5 to distinguish it from episodes I would give a 1 to.
It is the
3,
best.
4, 5.
It's the best rating system, either a 1 or a 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this episode really went a long way in kind of further solidifying Worf as like the fan favorite.
It does a lot of meta stuff. It buffs up Worf's character, gets him in the spotlight, makes him popular. It sets up for the conflict in the latter half of the season. Not only does it call back to a lot of continuity, it sets up and is later called back to itself. So it's not just high quality, but it's very useful in a lot of ways, which doesn't really factor into my rating of it, but it does just make it all the more impressive that this episode
definitely
how it does.
It's really the point where as the audience you can finally feel like, okay, like they're really getting comfortable with real continuity here.
Yes. Much to Gene's chagrin.
Well, he'll be dead soon anyway.
Thank God. Thank God for that.
Dog.
Thank Doge.
Who is also my co-pilot.
Who also takes the wheel.
You know what? I want to do like a Today in Trek kind of thing.
Did something happen today in Trek?
Well, it doesn't matter if anything did, really. But, it's like, when we're doing the podcast, we might as well do, like, what happened today in Trek, right?
Okay.
And today in Trek, obviously not literally today, but the same month and day, different year.
On this day in Trek.
On this day, July 30th, the fireman from Twin Peaks is born.
Is this in Trek?
Also known as Luoxana's slave.
Servant.
Right? Also known as Lurch in the new Addams Family, not the original.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened today.
Is this today on this day in Trek, or just on this day?
Wait, he was in Trek.
Oh, okay, there we go. You said that, and I still just couldn't figure out the connection.
He played the gong.
Right, the what is the name of that culture? The Beta Zen. The gong of Beta
the Beta Zen, yeah. While you eat, you just have to listen to someone bash a gong the entire time.
Which sounds like
what an inspired choice.
Sounds like one of the funniest scenes in the show, but watching it is just trying.
I feel like I remember enjoying that.
You would. Enjoy
you
it.
Would.
Hollywood.
I don't really have much in the way of trivia for you because nothing
You should have asked
funny.
me what bit actor from earlier Trek was born on this day in Trek.
Shit.
Yes.
Well,
sabotage yourself.
Instead, I'm just going to read an article from Memory Alpha for you.
Hell yeah.
Ghost Ship is a pocket TNG novel. The first in the TNG numbered series. Written by Diane Carey. And here's the book jacket. In 1995, a Soviet aircraft carrier is destroyed by a mysterious creature that just as mysteriously disappears thereafter. Over 300 years later, Counselor Deanna Troi awakens in her quarters from a nightmare in which she senses the voices of the crew of that Russian ship, whose life essences were somehow absorbed by the creature that destroyed them. And the nightmare heralds a danger to the USS Enterprise D itself. For if Picard can't discover a way to communicate with the creature, it could absorb his crew, just as it did the Russians.
Please stop.
And the amazing thing about this novel is that it was written before the series even started.
Really?
So, yeah, so none of the characters have behaved correctly, apparently.
That actually sounds mildly interesting for that fact.
Right. See, I knew you'd like it.
Yeah, it is cool.
Um,
So what, was the series being filmed or written at the time? And they just commissioned a
yeah,
novel?
well, so it was before the series even launched. It was before some people even got casted.
Does the novel describe Picard's flowing head of hair?
It's a great question. I don't know. There's not Memory Alpha doesn't have
Excerpts?
yeah, unfortunately. But it does say Data uses contractions.
I can't stand that. Hate it. Throw it in the bin. Terrible novel. Data.
Oh,
can't
here's
contract.
he can't refract either. Here's another point that you might like. The plot revolves around a Soviet aircraft carrier disappearing in 1995.
Right.
And I'm sure where you're going, like, you know where this is going, right?
Yes.
The novel was published in 1988, so
It's really,
there's obviously no way for them to predict.
It's really funny that you mentioned this because I was just watching an episode of Voyager where the crew goes back to 1996 LA, which is just incredibly eye-rolling. I rolled my eyes when I saw this. But
like every Star Trek has to do this.
Right. And there's nothing meaningful or clever about it. Just straight up, they're back in LA. Anyway, they run into a character played by Sarah Silverman. And, yeah, it's awful. And she's playing an astrophysicist, somebody that it has seen Voyager orbiting the Earth and is suspicious of this. And the characters have to go grab data from her lab, so she runs into some of the crew, and they're trying to play this lie.
Wait, Data's in the episode?
Very nice. They're trying to play this lie that they're not, space aliens or whatever. Tuvok's got a do-rag on covering his ears. It's very stupid.
Nice. Nice.
But basically, Tom Paris is trying to concoct a lie explaining their presence, and he says, "Oh, that's a Soviet satellite put up by the USSR." And of course the line is USSR, they dissolved however many years ago. So just serendipitous that you would mention this right after I watched that episode.
Oh, so it's like it's like a little bit. That's kind of funny though.
It is kind of funny that the characters have this vague understanding of history, but obviously not well enough to immediately
right
reconcile
when
it
it's
with
the
time.
question of like 8 years or whatever. Then it's like,
right.
Oh yeah, of course they would mess that up. Anyone would. That's funny. I like that. But yeah, anytime time travel is introduced into something like this, it's just like, why?
Oh, there's a meta line in that episode commenting on that.
No.
Janeway says, the day I became a Starfleet captain, I swore I would never get involved with any time travel or paradoxes or anything like that.
Jesus. The original series did time travel way too often.
It's to the point where the show alludes to regulations for time travel at several points. The shows do. TNG, DS9,
it would have to.
Right.
I mean,
they have a temporal prime directive.
It's so stupid. Just don't even open that jar.
Right. Yeah, it's very difficult to do a satisfying time travel story in a series that has continuity. You
not only continuity, but I mean, Star Trek as a whole is fairly well realized. I mean, it feels like you can suspend your disbelief for the most part to watch pretty much all of it, and then people start fucking time traveling.
Right. And then that's all right, I guess. Time travel, whatever.
Yeah.
It's
stupid.
It is dumb. Did you know that the plural of paradox is paradoxes?
No, but it doesn't make sense.
That's actually something I just made up.
Oh.
A rare occurrence on the Readier Room that I make something up.
Yeah. Yeah, usually you're not quick enough to do that.
No. What?
Huh?
Huh? Anyway, astounding lack of trivia this week, but I'll chalk that up as a win for me.
Sorry. No, it's just this episode was too good.
It was. You can't.
There's nothing like funny about it.
No, which makes for very less than compelling podcasting. That's why we talked about books for an hour. But I just want to restate how much I do truly love and enjoy this episode. I think it's excellent.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah. So that'll do it for another week of the Readier Room, a rare, abjectly positive week on the Readier Room. As always, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Denny's, home of the Grand Slam and Moons Over Miami, and also the Pep Boys, home of the 15-minute oil change. Say Readier at either of these fine establishments, or type in discount code Readier if you're on their digital platforms, and you'll get 15% off your purchase or order. That's going to be it for this week. We will see you again in a different time, in a different place, but I hope that the next time we meet, as always, you will be Readier.
The troublesome little man-child.
I stand before you defrocked, condemned to be a member of this lowest of species.
Thank you, Ensign. Engage.
Do you consider yourself superior to us?
Should have told him to mind his own damn business.
But I stroked the beard thusly. Do I not appear more intellectual?
Computer, freeze program.
Have you never dreamed of climbing inside the bottle?